In this video, I'm about to show you 10 Kraft Heinz brand products you need to stop buying and 5 you actually don't, starting with the ones that should never make it into your cart again. Number 10. Kraft Singles American Cheese Slices. Let's start with something almost every American household has sitting in the fridge right now. Kraft Singles. The orange squares, the staple of school lunches, backyard burgers, and late-night grilled cheese sandwiches for generations. And yeah, it hurts to say this, because there's something almost patriotic about peeling that little plastic wrapper off and slapping one onto a hot burger patty. But we need to talk about what's actually inside that wrapper, because most people grabbing these off the shelf have never read it closely, and what they find when they do is genuinely surprising. Here's the thing nobody tells you at the store. Kraft Singles are not legally allowed to be called cheese, not real cheese. The FDA classifies them as a pasteurized prepared cheese product. That is not a technicality. That is the government telling you right on the label that this is a processed food construction, not dairy. It contains roughly 51% real cheese. The rest is whey protein concentrate, calcium phosphate, sodium phosphate, apicarotinol for color, and sorbic acid as a preservative. The sodium content sits at 230 milligrams per slice, and most people do not stop at one slice. 2 slices on a burger and you are already at 460 milligrams of sodium from the cheese alone before you've added the bun, the ketchup, or anything else to the plate. In 2023, a consumer advocacy group analyzed Kraft Singles formulation over a 20-year period and found it had shifted further from dairy and closer to what food scientists call a texturized protein matrix. That is not cheese. That is an engineered product built to melt consistently, cost less to produce, and last longer on the shelf. The signature gooey stretch? That is sodium citrate, an emulsifying salt that keeps fat and protein from separating when heated. Real cheddar doesn't behave that way because real cheddar has texture, character, and actual flavor. All of that benefits Kraft Heinz's production line, not you. Real block cheddar is often the same price or cheaper per ounce. Think about that next time you reach for the singles. Number 9. Heinz Tomato Ketchup Standard Formula. Before anyone comes at me, yes, Heinz makes a cleaner version. We'll talk about that at the end because it actually makes the good list. But the standard bottle that most people grab, still made with high fructose corn syrup. And this matters more than Kraft Heinz wants you to believe. Heinz controls roughly 60% of the US ketchup market. When you hold that kind of power, there is very little reason to clean up your formula. A single tablespoon of standard Heinz ketchup contains 4 grams of sugar. Most people use 3 or 4 tablespoons at a meal that's 16 grams of sugar from a condiment alone. Because that sugar comes from HFCS, your liver processes it differently than cane sugar. The Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism published findings linking HFCS to increased visceral fat accumulation at higher rates than equivalent glucose consumption. That research has only grown stronger since 2012. Heinz released the Simply version because consumer pressure got loud enough that they had to respond. But they never pulled the original formula. They kept selling the HFCS bottle to everyone who didn't know, to look for the alternative, and then price the cleaner version higher. That tells you exactly where their priorities sit. They are not trying to make you healthier. They are managing 2 market segments simultaneously and counting on most buyers to never look past the front label. Number 8. Kraft Macaroni and Cheese Original Blue Box. The Blue Box is comfort food. It's what your mom made on a Tuesday night when she was exhausted and dinner needed to happen in 8 minutes. It's what you made for yourself in college at 11 p.m. It's cheap and it's fast. But let's talk about what Kraft was putting in that box for decades and what they quietly changed only after being publicly shamed into it. For years, Kraft Mac and Cheese contained yellow 5 and yellow 6 synthetic petroleum-derived dyes that are banned in several European countries and require a warning label in the UK stating the product may have an adverse effect on activity and attention in children. Kraft knew about this the entire time. They reformulated the European version with natural colorings like paprika and beta-carotene. They kept selling the dye version in the US. Only after a petition, With more than 348,000 signatures, did they remove the dyes in 2016. Not because they wanted to, because they ran out of room to hide. The current formula still contains maltodextrin, modified food starch, and sodium phosphate. A single serving has 570 milligrams of sodium, and nobody actually eats one serving of mac and cheese. Eat the full box, and you're closer to 1,100 milligrams. For anyone managing blood pressure, that is not a side dish. That is a problem. The fiber content is essentially zero, the protein is minimal relative to the calorie count, and the entire product is built on refined pasta coated in a powdered sauce that only faintly resembles real cheese in any meaningful way. Number 7. Oscar Mayer Bologna. Oscar Mayer is a Kraft Heinz brand, and Bologna has been in American lunchboxes for generations. But if you have never read the label closely, now is the time. The ingredient list includes mechanically separated chicken, pork, water, corn syrup, modified food starch, sodium phosphate, and sodium nitrite. Mechanically separated chicken is a paste made by forcing bones with attached meat through a fine sieve under high pressure. The USDA requires that any product containing it must say so on the label. It's there. Most people just never look. The bigger issue is sodium nitrite. The World Health Organization classified processed meats preserved with nitrites as Group 1 carcinogens in 2015. Same classification category as tobacco smoke. That is not a fringe opinion or a conspiracy theory. That is a conclusion from the International Agency for Research on Cancer based on a review of more than 800 studies. A 2-ounce serving of Oscar Mayer Bologna contains 14% of your daily recommended sodium intake on top of the nitrite exposure. Eat this a few times a week the way many American families do in sandwiches, as a quick lunch, as a budget protein, and you are getting consistent exposure to a compound the WHO says causes colorectal cancer. Oscar Mayer has a cleaner selects line, but the original Bologna cheapest and most widely sold still has the same formula it has had for decades. Because it sells. Number 6. Kraft Thousand Island Dressing. Here is one most people never think twice about. Thousand Island goes on salads, on burgers, in sandwiches, and most people treat it as harmless. But a 2 tablespoon serving of Kraft Thousand Island contains 120 calories, 12 grams of fat, 310 milligrams of sodium, and 4 grams of sugar. That is one serving the kind nobody actually uses. Most people pour 3 to 4 tablespoons across a salad without thinking. The first real ingredient after water is soybean oil, not olive oil. Soybean oil, one of the most heavily processed seed oils on the market. A 2020 study from UC Riverside linked high soybean oil consumption to metabolic disruption, including altered gut microbiome function and changes in hypothalamic gene expression. Kraft Thousand Island also contains high fructose corn syrup in a salad, dressing alongside calcium disodium EDTA as a preservative and artificial color. EDTA is used to extend shelf life by chelating metal ions. A reminder, this product was engineered for shelf stability, not for you. You think you are making a healthy choice, grabbing a salad. Kraft is making sure you are not. Number 5. Capri Sun. Capri Sun has been in American kids' lunchboxes since the 1980s, and Kraft Heinz has owned the brand in North America since 2001. The little silver pouches. Every parent knows them. And for years, parents assumed that because it said juice on the pouch, it was a reasonable choice for their child's lunch. A single Capri Sun pouch contains 16 grams of sugar. That is 4 teaspoons of sugar in a small pouch marketed at children with cartoon imagery on the front. The American Heart Association recommends that children aged 2 to 18 consume no more than 25 grams of added sugar per day. One Capri Sun gets you more than halfway to that limit before lunch is even over, and most kids are not stopping at one pouch. Then, in 2022, Kraft Heinz recalled approximately 5,760 cases of Capri Sun wild cherry flavor, after an undisclosed cleaning solution contaminated the product at the production facility. The FDA confirmed the recall. That is no minor mishap. That is a large-scale quality control failure in a product being handed to children across the country. The company issued a statement. Shelves were restocked within weeks. No long-term accountability. Business as usual. The organic Capri Sun line is a better product, but the standard version still 16 grams of sugar per pouch. Still built on cartoon branding to drive children's purchasing behavior? Still, from a company that contaminated product at scale and faced no meaningful consequences. That is not a brand earning your trust. Number 4, Kraft Mayo with olive oil. The name sounds healthy. Olive oil is right there on the front of the jar. You pick it up feeling good about it? That is exactly what Kraft's marketing team designed. But flip the jar and read the ingredient list. The first ingredient is water. The second is soybean oil. Olive oil appears 5th after soybean oil, eggs, and vinegar. FDA regulations require ingredients to be listed in descending order by weight. This jar contains more soybean oil than olive oil by a significant margin. The front label claim, "made with olive oil," is technically legal. You could add a teaspoon of olive oil to a vat of soybean oil, and that statement would still hold up. Kraft uses that regulatory gap with precision. The olive oil label commands a premium price. Consumers assume they are buying something healthier, and Kraft Heinz pockets the margin while delivering a product still primarily built on industrially processed soybean oil. A 2021 analysis in the Journal of Food Science found that a significant percentage of olive oil labeled products on U.S. shelves contained olive oil as a minority ingredient. Kraft's Mayo is a textbook example. You are paying more for less of what you think you are getting. Number 3, Velveeta. Original Velveeta might be the most aggressively processed product in the entire Kraft Heinz portfolio. Nearly a century of queso dips, casseroles, and cheesy soups built on a product that the FDA classifies as a pasteurized recipe cheese product, not cheese. What is inside reads more like a lab report than a food label. Velveeta contains milk, water, whey, milk protein concentrate, canola oil, sodium phosphate, sodium alginate, sorbic acid, and annatto for color. Sodium alginate is a gelling agent derived from brown algae. It gives Velveeta its moldable texture. Milk protein concentrate is an ultra-filtered dairy derivative that domestic dairy farmers have argued for years undercuts U.S. milk prices while flooding processed food with a cheaper substitute. A 2-ounce serving of Velveeta contains 410 milligrams of sodium, 18% of your daily recommended intake in just 2 ounces. Nobody uses 2 ounces of Velveeta in a queso recipe. A standard 2-ounce block in a party dip delivers thousands of milligrams of sodium to everyone at the table, alongside canola oil, gelling agents, and a preservative system designed for months of shelf life. It is not cheese. It is a sodium-heavy engineered product dressed up to look like one for nearly 100 years. Number 2, Kraft French dressing. This product tells you everything you need to know about how Kraft Heinz operates when regulators are not watching closely. In 2022, the FDA revoked its standard of identity for French dressing, a regulation in place since 1950 requiring it to contain vegetable oil and vinegar as primary components. When that standard was revoked, manufacturers could reformulate without restriction. Kraft moved fast. Kraft's current French dressing has high fructose corn syrup listed as its second ingredient, right after water and before soybean oil. There is more HFCS in this bottle by weight than there is oil. A 2 tablespoon serving contains 5 grams of sugar, and every gram of that is coming from high fructose corn syrup in a product being marketed as a salad dressing. The label says French dressing. It has the red-orange color you recognize. But what Kraft is actually selling you is a sweetened, emulsified condiment built on HFCS, soybean oil, xanthan gum, and calcium disodium EDTA. It sits on your salad greens on food you chose because you were trying to be healthier, and Kraft keeps selling it because most people never read past the front of the bottle. Number 1, Lunchables. If there is one Kraft Heinz product that represents everything that has gone wrong with American processed food, it is Lunchables, built on the backs of working parents who don't have time. Marketed directly at children through decades of cartoon branding, engineered to maximize shelf life, minimize production cost, and drive repeat purchasing. And the numbers back it up completely. In 2023, Consumer Reports released a major investigation into Lunchables and found elevated levels of sodium and, in some varieties, significant levels of lead and cadmium heavy metals. The average Lunchables tested contained between 67 and 84% of a child's recommended daily sodium intake in a single package. These go into kids' backpacks 5 days a week. Then Kraft Heinz lobbied the USDA to add Lunchables to the National School Lunch Program. That proposal faced significant pushback from pediatric health organizations, and the USDA ultimately modified its requirements. But the fact that Kraft Heinz had enough lobbying reach to get a product this heavily processed, that close to federal school lunch standards, is a story in itself. The cheapest Lunchables varieties contain mechanically separated chicken, processed white crackers, and a pasteurized cheese product similar in composition to Kraft singles. High sodium, zero fiber. Near zero nutritional density. Engineered to appeal to children through packaging and brand recognition. And priced at a point that makes struggling families feel like they are getting value when really they are paying for a cardboard tray of engineered ingredients that deliver almost nothing their child's body can actually use. This is not a lunch. This is a revenue vehicle. And the fact that Kraft Heinz had the nerve to lobby the federal government to put this thing in the National School Lunch Program, while Consumer Reports was publishing findings about lead and cadmium in the same product, tells you everything about what this company thinks of the people buying their food. Your kids deserve better. And frankly, so does your wallet. The next time you're standing in the grocery aisle looking at that cardboard tray, do the math. What are you actually buying? A handful of crackers, a processed meat slice, and a fake cheese square, all for $2 or more. For the same money, you can pack something real. A slice of actual cheddar, a handful of crackers from a clean label brand, and a piece of fruit. Nobody needs Lunchables. Kraft Heinz spent decades making you feel like you do. Now, it would be easy to just leave it there and write off the entire Kraft Heinz catalog, but that is not what this is about. Because buried inside one of the largest food companies on the planet, there are a handful of products that genuinely hold up. Products where the formula is honest, the quality is real, and the value for your dollar actually makes sense. So let's talk about those, starting with number 5. And look, I want to be honest here. These 5 products are not going to cancel out everything we just covered. But if you are going to spend money in the Kraft Heinz section of the grocery store, these are the ones where you are actually getting what you pay for. Real ingredients, honest labels, genuine value. That distinction matters. Number 5, Heinz apple cider vinegar. Not every Heinz product is a sodium bomb hiding behind a familiar label. Heinz apple cider vinegar is one of the most consistent, straightforward products in the entire portfolio. The ingredient list is exactly what it should be. Apple cider vinegar. That is it. No additives. No preservatives. No HFCS lurking on line 3. No natural flavors, covering for something you would not recognize. Heinz apple cider vinegar is produced through natural fermentation and holds a 5% acidity level, the standard benchmark for culinary and home use. Research published in the Journal of Functional Foods in 2018 found consistent apple cider vinegar consumption associated with modest reductions in fasting, blood glucose, and improved insulin sensitivity in adults with type 2 diabetes. A 2009 study in the European Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that vinegar at meals reduced postprandial blood glucose response in healthy adults. Real, peer-reviewed findings, not marketing copy. For a company that has built most of its product lines on layers of additives and shortcuts, this is one of the rare cases where they left a genuinely good thing alone. Clean ingredients, honest price. Real utility in the kitchen and beyond. Number 4. Heinz yellow mustard. Another one that Kraft Heinz has not found a way to ruin. Heinz yellow mustard contains distilled white vinegar, water, mustard seed, salt, turmeric, paprika, natural flavors, and garlic powder. That is a legitimate ingredient list. Turmeric contributes curcumin, a compound with well-documented anti-inflammatory properties in published literature. The sodium content is 55 milligrams per teaspoon, one of the lowest condiment sodium loads you will find anywhere on the grocery shelf. A bottle of Heinz yellow mustard runs between $1 and $2, depending on where you shop. It adds real flavor to sandwiches, burgers, and marinades without dumping sugar, seed oils, or HFCS into your food. The mustard seed has nutritional research behind it too. A study published in the Canadian Journal of Physiology and Pharmacology found that allyl isothiocyanates naturally present in mustard seed, showed lipid-modulating activity in experimental conditions. When everything else in the condiment aisle is loading you up with synthetic preservatives and industrial sweeteners, Heinz Yellow Mustard is the old, reliable option that costs almost nothing and delivers exactly what it promises. That is rarer than it should be in any grocery aisle. Number 3. Heinz 57. Sauce Heinz 57 has been around since 1911 and has managed to stay reasonably clean compared to the rest of this portfolio. Yes, it contains some sugar and some sodium. It is a steak sauce, not a health supplement. But the formula is built on tomato puree, distilled vinegar, corn syrup, salt, raisins, onion powder, and spices. No artificial colors, no petroleum-derived dyes, no EDTA hiding at the bottom of the list. A 1 tablespoon serving contains 180 milligrams of sodium and 4 grams of sugar. For a condiment used in small amounts on beef or eggs, that is a manageable load. The raisin content provides natural sweetness with a depth of flavor that synthetic sugar systems cannot replicate, and it is why Heinz 57 has a distinctive savory sweet complexity that cheaper steak sauces simply can't match. The formula has been largely stable since the early 20th century. In an era where Kraft Heinz keeps finding ways to cheapen things and call it innovation, that stability is worth something. Number 2. Kraft Natural Cheese Block Cheddar. Here is where Kraft actually gets it right, and it matters because it is the same brand name that gave us Kraft Singles, which are not cheese. Kraft Natural Cheese Block Cheddar is real cheese, actual aged cheddar made with real milk, cheese cultures, salt, and enzymes. That is the complete ingredient list. No sodium phosphate, no sodium alginate, no pasteurized prepared cheese product language on the back. The nutritional difference is significant. Real cheddar contains conjugated linoleic acid, or CLA, a naturally occurring fatty acid in dairy fat. A 2004 meta-analysis in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found CLA associated with modest reductions in body fat in human trials. Real cheddar also contains calcium, phosphorus, and fat-soluble vitamins A, D, E, and K2 in bioavailable forms that processed cheese products simply do not replicate. Kraft Natural Block Cheddar is often price competitive with Kraft Singles on a per-ounce basis, sometimes cheaper. You are getting more actual cheese per dollar. Same brand, real food, better product. If you have been buying Singles out of habit, you do not need to switch brands. Just move 2 feet down the dairy aisle. Number 1. Heinz Simply Tomato Ketchup. This earns the top spot because it proves Kraft Heinz knows exactly what they are doing when they make the standard formula, and they have chosen to keep selling it to the people who don't know to ask for better. That choice is deliberate. Simply Heinz is made with tomatoes, distilled vinegar, cane sugar, salt, onion powder, spice, and natural flavoring. That is it. No high fructose corn syrup, no EDTA, no artificial preservatives beyond what is naturally present in the vinegar. Just ketchup the way it was supposed to be made all along. A review published in Advances in Nutrition in 2013 concluded that HFCS and sucrose are not metabolically equivalent in real-world dietary patterns. HFCS showed greater association with liver fat accumulation and disrupted leptin signaling at equivalent caloric doses. Kraft Heinz knows this research exists. The original formula is still on shelves, priced lower, and positioned more prominently in most stores anyway. That is not an accident. That is a business decision made at the expense of the people buying the bottle. The price difference between original Heinz and Simply Heinz is typically 30 to 50 cents per bottle, less than $1 more for a product without high fructose corn syrup. The tomatoes in Simply Heinz are still Heinz's own proprietary seed varieties, the same ones cultivated since the 19th century. Heinz processes more than 2 million tons of tomatoes annually at facilities in California's Central Valley. The tomato concentration, the lycopene content, the clean vinegar balance, this is what Heinz was always supposed to be before the cost-cutting crept in and the HFCS formula became the default. Pick up the Simply version every single time. It is the bottle they should have been selling as the standard all along, and the fact that they did not is on them, not you.